Victor Wembanyama is in talks to have, if not the greatest, then one of the greatest rookie seasons in NBA history. In his rookie season, he averaged about 21 points, 11 rebounds, 3.5 blocks on 56% true shooting. Not only did he show that he could be one of the better offensive players in the league one day, he also showed that he can be a defensive anchor from the very first day he walked into the NBA. This led to a lot of sports analysts projecting that Victor Wembanyama is going to be a top 3 player in the league, maybe one day the best player in the league, and for sure be a future basketball Hall of Famer.
An MVP conversation.
He's going to win the MVP within his first 4 years. One of the next 3 years he'll win MVP because he can score. He'll average 25, give you 12, give you 3 blocks with 3 assists. The Spurs will make the playoffs, and it will be solely because of him. Within his by the time he's what, 19 now? I say by the time he's 23 or 24, Stephen A., he'll have an MVP on his mantle.
With all that hype being built around Victor Wembanyama, this has led to a lot of projection coming into this season. Victor Wembanyama is projected to be a top 10 player by the end of next season. He is also projected to be a defensive player of the year. He's projected to be the best defensive player in the league by the end of next season. And all of this has went into the preseason NBA award votings. As it is shown, Victor Wembanyama is 9th in MVP odds, 1st in most improved player odds, and 1st in defensive player of the year odds. Now, before I get into this subject, I think Victor Wembanyama is a hell of a player. I think he definitely has the potential to be a top 3 player in the league, and I definitely think if he continues of this pace throughout his entire NBA career, he's definitely going to finish as a basketball Hall of Famer. But I think the NBA has truly lost sight of what these postseason awards mean. As for being 9th in NBA MVP odds, we've seen players get taken away from their MVP voting just because of the seed that they're in. And I'm pretty sure a lot of people are confident that the Spurs will not make the playoffs this season. I think there are 8 to 10 to maybe 11 players I can give a higher chance of winning MVP before Victor Wembanyama. I think there are about 10 players I can name who are going to put up a better case. And here are just a few I can name off the top of my head. Nikola Jokic, Giannis Antetokounmpo, Luka Doncic, Joel Embiid, Jason Tatum, SGA, Anthony Edwards, Jalen Brunson, Donovan Mitchell, and Steph Curry. I think there's a pretty big chance that a lot of these guys put up a better case to win MVP in the 2025 season. But for the simple fact that the NBA is struck a gold mine in Victor Wembanyama being 7'4" and being able to dribble the basketball, shoot the outside shot, and be just such a defensive masterpiece. I think the NBA is going to do as much as they can to push Victor Wembanyama. And I'm not just going to sit here and say that the NBA is stupid for having an idea like this, because Victor Wembanyama is primetime television. We have never seen a player be able to do this at his height and at his structure. But once again, I just think the NBA is starting to lose sight of what these postseason awards really mean. Now let's talk about the Most Improved Player Award that Victor Wembanyama is voted number 1 preseason odds for the Most Improved Player Award. I think that it's kind of lazy for the NBA to really slate Victor Wembanyama as the front runner to win the Most Improved Player Award, when I think the Most Improved Player Award should not be something that you can predict going into the season. I think guys like Tyrese Maxey and Ja Morant winning the Most Improved Player Award is kind of lazy again, because when you look at Ja Morant's season before he won Most Improved Player, which I think was his second season, and Tyrese Maxey the year before he won Most Improved Player, these guys were projected to become stars. For example, Tyrese Maxey looked like one of the most consistent players on that 76ers team throughout that playoff run, and there were 2 MVPs on that team. So I think it was pretty clear, and the signs were right in front of our face that he was going to be a star in this league. I think guys like Kobe White and Jalen Johnson, who did not look like the star that they had shown this season, had a more valuable case for Most Improved Player than Tyrese Maxey did. Or for another example, CJ McCollum winning Most Improved in 2016. He averaged 7 points in the 2015 season and then jumped all the way up to 21 points per game. I think if there has been any clearer sign that Victor Wembanyama is going to take a jump this season, it's right now. So to wrap up the Most Improved Player conversation, I just think Victor Wembanyama is known to take the jump in his second season. I definitely think the signs are there. The defense, the shooting, the offensive game. I definitely think that Victor Wembanyama is going to have a way better season than he had his rookie year, but I think the Most Improved Player award should be left for the guys who really make a significant jump from maybe bench player to high-level starter instead of rookie with tons of potential into upcoming NBA star. I just think that's something we can see. Like, if that was the case, I would give it to Paolo Banchero, Chet Holmgren. These are all guys that Tyrese Halliburton. These are all guys who could be in the conversation for most improved player if we're going off that standard. And the reason we're going off this standard for Victor Wembanyama is because he sells tickets. He has people sitting down and watching the game a lot more because we've never seen somebody at this height do the things he can do. And as for right now, I don't think there's any clear distinction between Rudy Gobert, Anthony Davis, Bam Adebayo, Evan Mobley, or Chet Holmgren on defense. I think if Victor Wembanyama is the favorite to win Defensive Player of the Year, Anthony Davis and Bam Adebayo should definitely have the same odds or be higher than him. I think overall, Anthony Davis is just a better defender than Victor Wembanyama. And you can't say Victor Wembanyama doesn't have any help on defense because neither does Anthony Davis. In that starting lineup, there are guys like D'Angelo Russell, Austin Reeves, and Rui Hachimura who are not league average defenders, and a LeBron James who cannot give you 100% defense throughout an 82-game season. I think Anthony Davis is going to have to carry a lot on defense, and you can say the same thing about Victor Wembanyama. But I think guys like Evan Mobley and Chet Holmgren, those guys are going to be the anchor of some top-level defenses. And I just think guys like that may get the nod a little bit more than a guy like Victor Wembanyama. Even though he affects the San Antonio Spurs defense with him on the floor, you can say that about a lot of defenders. Bam Adebayo and Anthony Davis have just as much responsibility for their teams as Victor Wembanyama does on defense. And that's where I want to revisit the point of what are the standards for these postseason awards? And like I said, Victor Wembanyama is a hell of a player. If he stays on the pace that he is already, he's going to be a Hall of Famer. He's going to be one of the better defenders we have ever seen. But when we talk about guys winning the Most Improved Player Award, guys winning MVP, guys winning Defensive Player of the Year, there are just guys who are doing it at a higher level and have been doing it for longer than Victor Wembanyama. And I think when we look at Rudy Gobert and we all know Rudy Gobert is probably never going to win another Defensive Player of the Year. And it's basically because of how the media is looking at Rudy Gobert. It does not matter if the Minnesota Timberwolves are by far the best regular season defense we have ever seen next year, and Rudy Gobert is averaging 5 blocks per game. He's still not going to win Defensive Player of the Year. I think some of these awards are starting to be pushed towards narrative more than it is actually deserving of the player who gets Defensive Player of the Year. I still think Victor Wembanyama is a little too aggressive in the restricted area. I think he's a little block hungry. I think he's undisciplined when it comes to shot fakes and pump fakes and just jumping at everything to get more blocks. And when you watch him defend in space, he does not look as dominant. And you can't expect him to be because he's over 7 foot tall. A lot of 7-foot defenders are not good in space when it's time to guard these more athletic wings or these quicker guards. But when you see Rudy Gobert struggle against maybe the best isolation player in the league for a game-winning playoff shot, you guys drag him through the mud. When you see a guy like Rudy Gobert struggle against the best post player in the NBA, the best player in the NBA at that, you guys drag him. And it just aggravates me because Nikola Jokic put up 34 points on 66% true shooting on Victor Wembanyama. Rudy Gobert actually manhandled Bam Adebayo in the finals, and Rudy Gobert dogged Anthony Davis in the playoffs. These are, in my opinion, the top 4 defenders in the league, and Nikola Jokic is taking care of them. But you know the only player who gets dragged for getting cooked by the best player in the league, it's Rudy Gobert. It's Rudy Gobert. And I'm sorry for this part of the video being spent about talking about Rudy Gobert, but it's just something I want to look back at when we see these guys win Defensive Player of the Year, when these guys win MVP. What is really the standard for these postseason awards? And I want you guys to think about that as you watch this video. And if you guys want to talk about it in the comments, feel free to. Trust me, feel free to talk about it in the comments. I just want to revisit what is the standard for the NBA MVP, the NBA Most Improved Player, the NBA's Defensive Player of the Year? If there was some type of standard and some checklist we can write out to look at towards the end of the season, is this guy's team a top 4 seed in his conference? Is this guy averaging a certain amount of points? Is this guy efficient as he does it? Is this guy impacting winning when he's on the floor? There are things that needs to be checked off, and Wemby may give you that, but he is a second-year player who I think will not have the case to win MVP or to win Most Improved Player. And I definitely think he has a case to win Defensive Player of the Year. That is the one that I can get with a little bit more than than most improved player and MVP, but I definitely think he should not be the highest and almost a clear-cut favorite to win Defensive Player of the Year when, one, the season hasn't started, and two, there are guys that have been doing this longer than Victor Wembanyama and have been doing it at a higher level. So that is my video for today. It's the truth about Victor Wembanyama. I still think Victor Wembanyama is a hell of a player. I think he's a fantastic defender, and I think he's a hell of an offensive player. And if he stays on this track, he will be one of the greatest players we have ever seen. But this is a year 2 player. He still has a lot to learn defensively. He still has a lot to learn offensively. And I think us putting all these projections on Victor Wembanyama a little too early, at least for MVP and most improved player, I just think that's where we need to draw the line as fans, as media, as analysts, as some of the people who are going to be voting for this. I just think we need to revisit some of the players that we see doing this at a higher level for more seasons before we start chucking in Defensive Player of the Years at Victor Wembanyama. And if you guys like this type of content, make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. I will see you guys tomorrow, and I'm out. Peace.